Thank you, Madam President. This afternoon, after a few days of great anticipation, the President laid out his vision for long-term deficit reduction and dealing with our long-term debt. And now that we've heard from him, I'm afraid we're left with more questions than answers. Let me be clear, I welcome the President to the debate. I think it's a positive sign. There's no more pressing issue for us to address than our dire fiscal situation and our economic challenges, and both of them are intertwined and closely linked. We're not going to be able to improve the economy until we deal with our pending debt crisis, and we can't deal with our fiscal problems without having a growing economy. While we can debate some of the specifics in Congressman Ryan's budget, there's no doubt that the House Republican plan demonstrates necessary leadership on the severe fiscal challenges our country faces. This is in contrast to the plan that President Obama sent to the Congress just 2 months ago. It not only rejects the serious recommendations from his own fiscal commission, but unfortunately, as Erskine Bowles, the Democratic co-chair of the President's Commission said, and I quote, "It goes nowhere near where they will have to go to resolve our fiscal nightmare." And unfortunately, the President's speech today provides no specifics as how to resolve that fiscal nightmare. Since President Obama took office, we've seen trillions in new spending and record deficits. The February budget I talked about just locks that new spending in place, doing nothing to pull back from this dangerous spiral of debt. Let's be clear, this is not just a budget issue, it is an economic issue, and it's definitely a jobs issue. So we have very different visions, don't we? We have the Fiscal Commission on the one hand and the Ryan budget in the $4 trillion range, and then a plan by the President that does not get us moving forward in terms of deficit reduction and in fact doubles the debt in the next 10 years. Evidently, after seeing Republicans move forward last week and now this week in the House, and after seeing how on a bipartisan basis and around the country people reacted to his budget, President Obama has realized that he needs to move forward with a new proposal. In a sense, he's asking for a mulligan, and I think that's good. I think it's good that he has acknowledged that this problem is deeper and more serious than his budget proposal indicated, and that we need to move forward together. Unfortunately, again, the President did not offer specifics today, unlike the Ryan budget that takes some bold and courageous steps, tough steps, but does offer specifics. As the President made clear, we've been debating just 12% of the budget. He's right about that. There's some defense spending that's involved, but for the most part, it's a very small part of the budget. So what does this proposal do to address these additional challenges? I didn't hear anything today. There were serious proposals to address the entitlement programs, which are incredibly important programs, but on an unsustainable footing. On Medicare, the President proposed delegating future unspecified savings to a government board, unelected and unaccountable. On Medicaid, the President seems to be delegating responsibility to the National Governors Association. On Social Security, the President told us today it doesn't contribute to our deficit, despite the fact that the program is in cash deficit this year by $45 billion. $45 billion of payroll taxes less than the payments going out. The President proposed $4 trillion in deficit reduction and yet has shrunk at this point from the responsibility of telling us how he would achieve it, except that he'd leave the challenge largely to others while pursuing tax increases that I fear will harm the little recovery that we see coming out of this deep recession. So I look forward to working with members on both sides of the aisle and the President to address the serious challenges we've talked about today. I wish we'd seen more specifics today, but I am encouraged the President is at least engaging in the game, welcoming his involvement, because it's too important for us not to have involvement from both sides of the aisle, and without White House leadership, we cannot move forward. So, Mr. President, as you say so often, let's get focused, not on the next election, but on the next generation. Thank you, Madam President.